Right into Buy, Rent, Burn, a recurring segment of the podcast. If you've not listened to us before, basically what happens is we select a system, this time around the Nintendo Entertainment System, the good old NES, and we'll each select a game for it, and we play those games individually. And at the end of this, we decide which game we would personally buy, rent, or burn. The selections this outing are Life Force, which Andy has selected, also known as Salamander everywhere else in the world. Justin has gone with Ghost Lion, and I have gone with Trog. So let's go back up to the top and discuss Life Force. I'll read the description here off of GameFAQs. The description: you've saved the innocent people of Gradius from the vile Bacterians, but now an even deadlier plague is slammed into the neighborhood. It's Zelos, an all-engulfing, planet-eating alien who's hungry to take a bite out of you. Only this time, you don't have to rescue millions of Gradians alone. You can call on a starfighter friend from the planet Lattice, I don't know, who will fight beside you in his Road British space destroyer. That's such a terrible name. You'll both be gunning for max power-ups with ripple lasers. I almost read that as nipple lasers. Plutonic missiles and force fields. But you better be on target, for this isn't your ordinary space scum. And to crush him, you've got to soar through his guts, blast past his death traps, and ultimately blow out his heart. Good luck, Commander. The galaxy's counting on you. That is a lot of story for a game where you basically just shoot shit that comes at you.
Yeah, very much so. I didn't realize that it was in the same... I mean, obviously it's basically the same mechanics as Gradius, but I didn't realize it was like a direct
Straight
sequel.
Yeah, I didn't either. I knew it was like in the same vein, but yeah, I had never noticed that. That's crazy.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar, it's basically that Gradius. It's, shooting things, getting pickups, and then basically cashing in those, pickups to get whatever weapon or power up you want. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a risk reward system that kind of has been Konami's thing for a long time. But I don't know, I gotta say this game is pretty impressive for what they're pulling off on the NES.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the fact that they got 2-player in there is like a huge improvement over Gradius or Gradius. However, I'm sure people are gonna be mad at us for how we're saying it either way.
Yeah. I actually own the arcade cabinet of this game.
Humble brag.
Yeah, I found it pretty interesting that it's quite a bit different, like the game.
Yeah.
Sitting down and playing through this again, obviously it's missing some levels and, it looks a little bit worse than an arcade cabinet does. But honestly, the NES version has a lot of pros to it. It's a lot slower. It's a lot more manageable. It's a lot easier. Which it's a pretty hard game anyway.
Relative to the arcade, yeah.
Yes. It's relative to the arcade, it's easier, but it's still a pretty hard game overall.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have the power-up system. It doesn't have like the Gradius style power-up system in the arcade. It's just pick up and it immediately powers you up in the arcade. So I found that kind of interesting playing this some more, and I actually kind of like that system better. The holding on to things and then cashing them in. I like that system a lot better.
Well, it's really familiar too. Like for a lot of shooters in that vein, like you said, the Konami kind of just does that.
Yep.
I've always had a problem with like the ship design in these games, though, just because it is such a slender sprite. Like it's so easy to kind of like lose it or misjudge by a few pixels, like how close you are to something. Which resulted in me dying a lot from clipping. Also, just the fact that I'm panicking probably and like hitting up and down too much when I shouldn't be is part of it, but I don't know. It's necessary though too, I guess, because they kind of incorporate the level design around that with like those growing walls and stuff that you have to shoot your way through.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes sense. They do a good use of like sort of justifying that design.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of environmental moving in this game that you have to look out for.
Yeah. Oh my God, those frickin' solar flares. I hate that shit.
Yeah, I died on those all the time.
Yes. I used the Konami code, and I think I used an entire continue. Like set 30 lives to get through that section for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, if anything, the bosses are the easiest part of this game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're a cakewalk as long as you're able to keep up with the pattern. That second one, though, is it the second one that's got like the 4 tentacles that like rotate or clockwise?
Yeah, if you
that
get out
one
a
I had
pattern on that, it's tough.
Yes, I was gonna say I had a hell of a time getting into the groove on that.
Yeah, yeah. That level is on the arcade game. That where the part right before that where you have those blue balls bouncing everywhere. Yep.
Let's hear more about these blue balls, please.
So in the arcade game, the arcade just gives you a ton of blue balls. They're just bouncing all over.
Sounds painful.
They just don't stop. It's just blue balls all the time. But on the NES, at least they limit it to 4 or 5, I guess. But yeah.
I think that was probably for the sake of frame rate, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's makes it a lot more manageable. Sometimes when you play a game and it gets that impossible, it's just like you get so frustrated like you can't even beat this. Like it's impossible, But
right. No, I think it's like as a shooter on the NES, I think it's probably one of the best examples. It's probably some people's favorite shooter on the NES.
Yeah.
The music's good, of course. It's Konami. The controls are tight. It's punishingly difficult, but it's also rewarding. And just the visuals and amount of on-screen effects, and like you said, like the environmental stuff that comes out, like the solar flares, the spikes, the growing hazards. It's all really faithful to what arcade games or the arcade version of it pulled off, and it still runs incredibly well. And I think the 2-player aspect makes a huge plus for this over like other shooters. I played through the entire thing with my son and we had a great time. Of course, use the Konami code because I don't hate myself. But yeah, it was like 30 minutes and end screen, and then it resets and goes right back into it, and then you find yourself playing half the game again, not realizing that you've just done it.
Yeah, plus we should mention it does switch between vertical and
yes,
horizontal shooting, which is pretty unique in that regard.
That is pretty cool. The horizontal stuff, or like the vertical stuff, made me really feel like I was playing kind of like a dumbed down or watered down version of Blazing Lasers. Like there's a couple of those sections where there's like the floating brains and stuff, and I was like, yeah, this feels very familiar. I mean, predates it, of course, but Justin loved it. I know how much he likes shooters. So, Justin, can we hear about how much you loved this game?
I mean, as far as the gameplay of it, it plays really well. Like you guys said, the controls are really good. It's a style of game that I'm not a huge fan of. The memorizing the maps, though, would be huge because you have to do that in these games.
Yeah.
Just die and remember the maps. So I can see where a lot of people would find it, to be one of the better games in that era, but I wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah. I don't think that surprises anyone, but yeah.
I didn't really have a whole lot to say on it, but I mean, it looks decent.
Let's be honest.
I was really frustrated.
How long did you get into this game before you were like, F this?
I played about a half hour.
Oh wow, okay,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I didn't keep continuing though. Like it gave me 2 continues, and then I was working on another project, so I waited and came back and restarted. So it was 2 tries at it.
Sure. Well, that's better. At least give it the good old fashioned college try, I guess.
There's more time than I gave one of the games.
Oh, yeah? I bet I know which game it is. I'll just take a wild guess as to which one it is. All right. So let's move on. With that, let's segue. Let's move on to Justin's pick, Ghost Lion. So description on this one: how high are your hopes? How powerful are your dreams? How strong is your courage? You'll need them all to help Maria find her parents in the caverns of the Ghost Lion. Use magic bombs, storms, and thunder wisely against zombies, goblins, and kobold, the monster with the face of a dog. Keep your companions close. Centaur, the half-man, half-horse. Twana, spirit of the lamp. And Faithful Mojo, the spirit of the spear. It's the easiest way to get into role-playing. Bullshit. And only the biggest supply of courage will get you and Maria through.
Yeah. So I had no idea what this game was. I picked it out of a list, just random. And I guess basically it's kind of, I suppose, like, what, the Zelda style? Over the top, like you explore random encounters. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't really play Zelda ever either, but
it's more of a traditional turn-based RPG, but yeah, the map overview part, yeah, I would say is Zelda-esque.
And then, yeah, the combat, you get its turn, and it seems like it's random as to who gets to go first. I don't know. But you walk around, you find treasure and whatnot. Apparently rubies are your currency or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Not much fun.
Yeah, I will say, like, this is a fairly... I think it's safe to say this is a fairly uncommon game on the NES. It has probably one of the greatest, most 80s ass cover arts in the entire library for that system.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a chick with a... Like, she looks like she fell out of, like, a dance aerobic video from the 80s, like, sitting there with a white line. She's got the 80s hair. It's pretty badass. But in the game, it's... I don't play RPGs, so I don't know how this rates on scales of, like, 8-bit RPGs. But it all seemed very basic. There was some nice animation and, like, storytelling, although it's a very dumb story. I got to the first village, I talked to everybody in it, and they all just said stupid crap that was awful and pointless. And then...
You mean bread?
Yeah, get me bread. You don't have any. Buy some. Like, F you, lady. And then just, like, before I finally died in that first cave, like, that fight music, like the battle sequence music, is the most grating, obnoxious crap. It's awful.
You cannot have awful music in a RPG that you're going to do a ton of random encounters in.
Right.
Oh.
And, like, it's weird, too, because, like, this game, you don't have, like, a party so much as you just have, like, random magical items that, like, summon people to attack for you within the battle screen. So you have a party, but you don't. You have, like, a lamp and a spear and apparently a centaur at some point. And it was all, like, really... It felt very generic to me. I don't play a lot of RPGs. Andy probably has more of a gauge on this. I agree with Justin, and not a lot of fun. It's kind of the consensus.
The only thing I had was a dagger. How did you guys have other attacks?
Because the spear, you have to go on. If you go to the spear, then that Twana guy or whatever comes out, and then the dagger is when the creepy old man comes out. And you had to use needle attack.
The call command, I think.
Yeah, yeah, because you can't. Oh, right, yeah, you can't attack. You have to go into, like, call, and then you have to, like, unlock them through the. Yeah, that's right. Because the dagger is your weapon, and then you go into call on the spear or the lamp, and then it summons the other two dudes. Because, like, you just get wrecked if you don't use the old man off the start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used the dagger and I died. I played the first mission to the cave. I did that, 3 times? And it ended the same way, with me dying right after finding the goblin. Another thing, too. When you're walking across a bridge and you get swept away by the river, how do you end up in a pond with no water coming into it?
It's a dreamland. It's dreams, don't worry.
And you totally didn't end up in a Zelda, like, fairy fountain. Like, that is not at all what they made in this game. It was completely original ideology there. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. I gotta say, though, like, I don't think any RPG could stand up real well in the format of this. Like, how we're playing these games. Like, you're never really going to tell quality between them, I guess.
Right. That's true.
We're never going to have the time to put into it like we should on those games. But yeah, this is kind of like middling, I would say. I mean, it's a Dragon Warrior ripoff. It looks just like it. It's got the same kind of battle system. Although, like, the summons are kind of cool. Those are different. I liked it. It was almost like they're like, oh no, we don't want anybody to sue us, so we're going to name everything different. So, like, your level is called Hope. And your HP is... What, courage? Yeah.
Yep. Courage.
And dreams or something. Just dreams.
You need dreams to summon stuff from spears. It's fact.
Yeah. You're all out of dreams, man. Oh, it's yeah, so that felt that was kind of funny. But I think the worst part about this game is, I mean, this is all like early stuff, right? So
right.
How you make a good Japanese RPG like wasn't set in stone. There's no like genre really. So it was like they were all kind of guessing.
Yeah.
And
it's funny though, because it almost feels like they're like really taking like a huge effort to westernize the RPG. Like they put in like the most relatable terminology, you know, like you know, you're saying like XP's gone. Like it's not a weird story. It's this happy-go-lucky Caucasian family that happens to live in a village in the jungle. You know what I mean? It's just, It's the most like PG generic like thing that you could suck like a group of 8-year-olds into, and like maybe they did the protagonist as a woman to like try and draw the female crowd. I don't know, but and this probably isn't Western developed, I'm guessing, but it feels very much like they were trying to cater it to our audience. Yeah. In a time when nobody was receptive to that type of game.
Yeah. They definitely had like that anime style graphics, you know, so it's kind of Japanese. But like the biggest mistake I think they did was that you don't gain levels by battling. You find all that stuff like in a chest. You know, you open a chest
That's
and
how
then
you do
like,
it?
They're like, oh, now your courage is higher or whatever, you know. And you gained a hope level or whatever. And
so you can't even like grind your way to victory. Like if you miss something, you might just dead end yourself pretty much.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. So battles are just about money. So like as if random encounters in, you know, playing this game in 2018 isn't grading enough. Just and then not to have that actually give you progression to make it seem like you're okay, well, as long as you go through all these random encounters, at least I'll be able to blow through them, you know, if I grind it or whatever. But that's not the case in this game. So yeah, and the whole music is awful.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Which is weird because like the rest of it, like from a presentation package, is all probably slightly above average. It's just that battle tune is hideous. All right. Glowing reviews on that one. Well, let's get into the last one here, which is going to be Trog. This is my pick. So Trog, a description on this one it's much longer than it needs to be, so bear with me here. It's the survival of the fastest in this prehistoric land of Og. That crazy one-eyed caveman, the Trog, is hungry for dinos. Spike and Bloop know what this means. Run for your lives. Those are the dinosaurs, apparently, Spike and Bloop. There, who you play as. Here's your chance to change the course of history and save the dinosaurs. Don't become Trog's Stone Age feast. Instead, use your reflexes and wits to race through 50 fun-filled levels packed with dynamite action and surprises. You'll witness the greatest inventions of all time. Fire, wheel, the pogo stick, all invented by Trog to catch his dinner. Just watch out for the tar pits. And you've got special pickups that keep the carnivorous chowhound in check, like pineapples that turn you into a ferocious Trog-munching T-Rex. It's like this. Either you save the dinos or you're extinct. Big description on what essentially boils down to an arcade-style maze action puzzle game. I guess it's mostly like Pac-Man if instead of eating power pellets to eat ghosts, you ate pineapples, became a bigger dinosaur, and ate cavemen. It does get a little more interesting with like Some of the game mechanics, like doors that transport you to certain worlds. You do have a defense. Even when you're not powered up, you can punch the caveman away or Trog away. So there is some more skill to it, but it's all very arcadey. The goal is to essentially clear the map of eggs, which will open an exit, and you want to get out of there. There's some different power-ups, like a fire shot that will blast the cavemen away too. And yeah, just as you'd imagine in a game like this, it just progressively gets more complicated and faster paced. The one main issue, I love the graphics. I think the music's fine for what it is. The one main issue I have with this is like every map is surrounded by, I think, water. So the cave or the dinosaurs you control, like they're always moving. You can control the direction they go in, but they don't really just stop when you lay off the D-pad. So it's very easy if you're moving quickly to just accidentally like run yourself off the screen. I don't know why that had to be an option to like throw yourself off the map, but I think that was my biggest frustration in most of this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. My first time getting to the edge of the map, I assumed I was going to come to the other side. Just playing other games, and no, you fall off. One night thing though, the cavemen actually fall off too randomly. They'll walk off the edge.
Well, they are dumb one-eyed cavemen, so I guess that makes sense.
No depth perception.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was I did the same thing off the edge like constantly. I think my brain just could not get over the fact that you have to stop over there. Mm-hmm. Every time you got to the edge, I felt like it was just the edge you would stop, but no. Yeah, it's I don't know about you guys, but I had an issue with the turning in this game. I don't know about you guys, but like if you get like halfway past the turn that you would take, you can't turn. You have to go to the next one. So I ended up having to play. You have to like basically hit left or right on the pillar or the egg or whatever instead of where the opening is. I don't know about you guys if you had that issue or not.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not as responsive as you would like, and I don't know if they did like the loose controls to give it more of like an arcadey feel, but yeah, I did run into that quite a bit and found myself like quickly adjusting and turning back a lot.
I was super annoyed with that right away. After a while, though, I just pre-planned where I was going and would do it before, but it sucked because you're committed to going when the cavemen are on their way that way already. Yeah. So it's kind of...
Yeah. And that's a frustrating point you bring up too, is like the way the cavemen work in this game. It's not like Pac-Man ghosts where you can always track where they are on screen. Like they'll burrow into the ground and then sometimes pop up like directly in front of you. Yeah. Or in those maps where there's like doors, they'll like fly out a door at you. Like it's almost impossible to anticipate that, which seems needlessly cheap.
I like the blue mushroom, though. As soon as you eat that, then they all know exactly where you're at, and they come after you.
Is that what that does?
It's like slows you down, so they're all faster than you, and they all come at you.
Oh, I was eating the crap out of that, trying to figure out what it did, and I never got it.
I don't think I got that one. I got the one that makes you turn into T-Rex and go after him. But
yeah, that's probably the best part of the game.
I couldn't make it over to any of the other items because there's always surrounding the items that would spawn in on the map.
Yeah. It took me a while to realize that the thing that froze them was an ice cube melting. It's like, why does this box make them freeze? I don't understand. I'm like, oh, that's ice. I get it now.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could be like, this is an acclaimed published game, but I mean, really, you could probably be excused for thinking that this might have been like an actual arcade game at some point that got a port. Because, I mean...
It was.
I feel... Oh, it was an actual arcade game?
Yeah.
Okay.
I played it at MGC one year, I think.
Oh, I didn't realize it was in the arcade.
It's got some really weird graphics, too, on the arcade. Like, it's almost like Gumby or something.
Oh, really?
Like Gumby, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's like... It captures, like, the vibe of an arcade game pretty well. I mean, I think... I wouldn't go so far as to call this a hidden gem because I think a lot of people know about it. But I think, for a game that's like relatively unknown on the NES, this is well worth your time. And it's a lot of fun with 2 players. I played with my son. And then it's kind of fun because like it splits the eggs up after the first level. So if I'm blue and he's orange, like all I have to do is get my blue eggs, then I can escape and then end the level. So it kind of almost makes it easier because you've got someone else to distract the cavemen, and then you got less eggs to catch. So
Sure.
It's pretty cool. I do question though as to why a pineapple would set a dinosaur off, but hey, what do I know?
It's interesting they name the game Trog. They make the cover the caveman, but they're the bad guys.
Right. Yeah, that is an interesting choice. You'd think that you would be dropped into a game where you're playing as a caveman defending yourself from dinosaurs, but
yeah,
I guess not. Well, I think we've heard enough about all of these. Time for our picks. Andy, once you kick us off, as always.
Yeah, my choice for buy is probably pretty obvious at this point, but that's going to be Life Force. It's just a classic shooter all the way around, and playing it again is it was a lot of fun. So it's fun to pop that in, go through it, play a few levels, and go. But it's balls hard, so I think you gotta own it to keep playing.
Yeah, for sure.
My rent is going to be Legend of the Ghost Lion, because that is exactly the type of game that was up my alley when that game came out. Maybe shortly after that, I would say. But yeah, that is a game that I would probably, out of these 3, probably play the most out of, to stick some time into at least, just because it probably demands a lot of time to put into it. With the sound off, I would listen to a podcast at this point. But yeah, it was kind of surprising. Like, I didn't know. I mean, I knew of this game, but I had no idea what type of game it was. And to find out,
which is funny because out of all of us, you're the one that owns the boxed copy. I have the in-box copy. I have no idea what this game is.
Yeah, and then yeah, exactly. I guess I never looked at it even. You look at the front, you're like, okay, that's a game. But then why even look at the back? Nothing's going to be better than that. So
no, it can't live up to that.
Right. So kind of surprised that, hey, there was another, straight up RPG on the system that I guess I didn't know about. So it was kind of surprising to come across that this week. And then my burn is going to be Trog, and I don't think it's because it's a bad game. It's just that, I don't know, arcadey style games like that just don't hold up that well to me. They're kind of throwaway. Like, I would rather play that in the arcade than have a home copy of that and just get the eggs constantly. That's all it is. There's not a lot of strategy to it, I would say, especially when the Trogs can move around at will. So I don't know. There's a lot of randomness involved, but
sure. Justin, how about you?
Yeah.
Buying Ghostland. Done.
It's probably going to surprise a few people, but I'm going to base this off of playing as 2-player. I'm going to buy Life Force just for that reason, because I think that would be better with 2 people than any other game playing at all on this list.
Can I just point out that if it was a shooter that I brought to the table, you would have torched this?
I want to torch it. I want to. I just can't buy Ghost Line.
Yeah, fair enough.
And Trog, I don't think I can buy that either.
Okay.
This one sucks. Alright, so I'm going to buy Life Force. I'm going to rent Trog. And I'm going to burn Ghost Line. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, what I think that's about what I expect. Well, I didn't expect Life Force from you. I thought you'd go Trog, but maybe we've made you play enough shooters that they're growing on you. That's good.
No, they're not. Not at all. No. Trog can be 2-player?
Yeah, I played it with my son. It was fun. Yeah.
I don't remember seeing 2 players an option on that, but
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then it gives like one player like the win at the end of each round based on how many points you get. So my son kept getting pissed that it was always me. And eventually he's like, I don't care if I win. I'm like, spoken like a loser, son. I didn't.
The animation
didn't
at the end
that.
of the level is cool.
Yeah, like totally. Yeah, it's very, I don't know, 90s, 80s-ish feeling with like weird colors and like a rad and stuff on the screen and zap. But yeah. Yeah, so it's funny with Life Force, because like when I threw the picture out, I just took a picture of the 2 NES games that I owned for this, minus Ghostline, that I was playing it for the podcast, and I guess friend of the podcast, Musty Hobbit Second Breakfast, like immediately commented, buy Life Force 8 days a week. And I gotta say, yeah, he was pretty much spot on. Like Life Force is by far the best game in this lot, I think. And I would buy that. In fact, I have bought it, and that's going to be my buy this go around. I think it's really fun, 2-player especially. Again, I would have to do it with the Konami code. I just don't have the patience to get good enough on standard lives. Really like that game, though. I've really grown to appreciate shooters in the last few years of collecting. It's not something I liked at all when these systems were out, but I really love them now. So I'm going to buy that. I'm going to rent Trog. I think it's a fun game. I think because it's based on an arcade game, it makes a perfect rental because it's not something you're going to sink a ton of time into. And I really hate RPGs a lot, especially traditional, old school, turn-based RPGs. So as cool as the cover art is for Ghostline, F that game. Like, I am burning the hell out of it. I'm sorry, Maria, but I'm torching you.
That was a pretty good mix where I'm like, I don't know what to buy. These are all pretty good. And Justin's like, I wish I could burn all these, but I can't.
I mean, if I would have... I don't remember seeing Trog as a 2-player.
Yeah, go back and try it again with your kids. It's fun.
Because if that... I might change that, but...
No, this is set in stone. You're getting this list tattooed to your forearm. Can't change it now.